Hi, welcome to Beyond Politics. I'm Catherine Clark. Madam Justice Andromache Karakatsanis is an example of the quintessential Canadian immigrant success story. Her parents came to Canada seeking a better life. They opened and ran a restaurant in Toronto, and they insisted on higher education for their children. It paid off. Their eldest child, Madam Justice Andromache Karakatsanis, is now a Justice of the Supreme Court of Canada, and she joins me to talk about life on Canada's top court. Madam Justice Andromache Karakatsanis, welcome to Beyond Politics. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You have had such an exceptional professional career. You are now a Justice of the Supreme Court of Canada. But you are also, I am told, you are also an exceptional cook. Do you have a favorite meal to prepare? Is it a Greek meal?
I have lots of favorite meals to prepare. I do some Greek cooking, but mostly I love to make things that are, relatively simple. I love fish, I love salads, vegetables. It's hard to pick one meal.
Is it a way for you to relax? Because what you do is obviously very stressful and time-consuming. Yeah. Everyone has something that they do that helps them to just take a break from their regular daily activities. Is this how you relax?
It's one of the ways I relax. I mean, I love cooking, especially when I don't have to. So it's not so relaxing to cook on the weeknights. But it is, I find it creative, and it's delicious. So it's a very satisfying thing to do. Really to relax, you're going to find this hard to believe given the job I do, but I love to read. So usually fiction, and I read every night. That's how I go to sleep at night.
What kind of fiction? Because you're reading all day long at the court.
I am. Well, you know what? I like to read good literature and sometimes biographies. I love mysteries, thriller. Right now I'm reading a mystery in French set in Quebec. And it's just a way to take my mind off of my work and into another enjoyable world.
Are you reading the Louise Penny?
I am.
Are you
Yes. I am. I'm reading them in French.
In French. Well, that's
yes,
great.
Yeah.
Good for you.
It is.
That's just adding another layer of complication, though.
No, I find it relaxing.
You do find it relaxing.
Yeah, I do.
Good for you. That's exceptional. Yeah. You were born here in Canada.
I was.
But you didn't speak English until you went to kindergarten. Tell me about that.
Well, I was born to Greek immigrants. My parents came here after the war and met and married here. So we spoke Greek at home. And when I went to school, I learned English quickly, apparently. But I felt lucky. I felt like I had this special extra world. Greek music, Greek food, Greek values. We got to go to Greece occasionally in the summer, so it was just something special that I felt I had.
How much of your parents' family was also here, or was it just the two of them?
There was, my father had a brother who was here. Most of their family was in Greece, so it was when they first came, they just came alone. And I think I didn't really appreciate growing up just how courageous that was, to leave your family and come to a new country, really with no money, no language, no family, just exceptionally courageous and hope for a better future.
Why did they choose Canada? Did you ever ask?
I think they believed, as so many others did, that Canada was a land of opportunity. So Canada was their first choice.
What were they like as parents? My understanding is that they may have been a little bit strict. Is that safe to say?
They were strict at times, yes. I'm not sure I liked it always then, but I always understood that they were doing what they thought was best for me. They were really warm, loving, wonderful parents. They always made us feel that the children were the most important things in their lives. We felt loved and protected. So sometimes they were a little strict. But,
as parents can be.
As parents can be. But it was fine.
How many of you were there? How many
I have
siblings?
a sister and a brother. I'm the eldest.
All right.
Yeah.
Did you feel that you had to lead by example?
Well, according to them, I may have taken my responsibility too seriously. I guess I did. I think I was, I was a serious child. I was curious, but I think I did take that responsibility seriously.
Your parents and you as well, you never anglicized your name. So many people did. Why was it important to you not to do so?
It's a part of my heritage. It's a part of who I am, and I've actually found that people, they find it a little intimidating at first, but once they learn it, they remember it.
Have you had to spell your name for people your entire life?
My entire life. When I was a trial lawyer, you had to spell your name for the record, even if the judges knew you, every time you stood up for a case, and I've always had to spell my name.
Did that bother you, though?
No, I just accepted. I mean, it's not the easiest name, so it seemed reasonable to me.
Your parents had a restaurant.
Yes.
And is that partly where you learned to cook? Was that part of your life from that aspect of it, or were you merely there to wait tables?
My dad's a fabulous cook, so I learned from him. I didn't actually cook in the restaurant. I did a little bit of everything, though, in the restaurant. I waited on tables. I managed when he wasn't there. I had to do a little bit of everything.
You would have learned so much about people.
You do. You do. I recommend to people that I recommend to kids working in the service industry. You learn how to be really respectful and civil, even when people can be a little difficult. You learn how to manage in a public service, environment. Anyway, it was a great learning ground.
Was there ever a sense that might be what you would do as a career, that you would stay in the family business and not pursue other studies?
Not a chance. My parents always expected that we would become professionals. I think they left the choice of which profession up to us, but it was always an expectation that we would go to university and pick a profession and we would become professionals.
Did they suggest what they would prefer you chose to do?
I don't remember that, no. I don't. It was just an expectation that I would pick a profession that would be something I would enjoy doing.
So why did you choose the law?
Well, I did my undergraduate degree in English literature, and law seemed the logical choice from the arts. It's not a very good reason, but it turned out to be an excellent choice. So, yeah.
Were your parents concerned that you chose to study English literature? Did they think that the potential for job prospects coming out of that might be limited, or was there an understanding that that was simply the first degree?
It was the first degree. They weren't at all concerned about it. They saw it as, the next step, the next stage in my education.
When you got to law school, did you enjoy it? So many people talk about getting to law school and it's completely overwhelming. And they don't frankly like law school very much. They may like the law, but they don't like law school. What was your experience?
Well, I met my husband and we went to law school together and we got married in second year. So I had other priorities than just school at the time. And I liked law school, but I have to say that my, passion for the law really came later as I was working within the law.
Did you partly choose to go to law school because your husband was doing so?
No, he partly chose to go to law school because I was going. He didn't really have a plan. So when I said I was going, he thought he would try it.
You were obviously very committed to each other from a very young age.
Yes, it's been, well, married for 35 years.
That's remarkable.
It is.
Was it difficult to go to law school at the same time that you were in a serious relationship and then a marriage?
No, well, in some respects it makes it easier.
Who got the better marks?
Oh, honestly, I can't remember now.
Okay, was there competition though? Or did you help each other study? Or?
We helped each other.
Yeah.
We helped each other, yeah. No, it really was, it's never been competitive, no.
Did you pick a specific area of the law in which to specialize? Was there, or was it just general practice that you anticipated?
Well, I've always loved the criminal law, starting in law school. In part, I mean, the stories are always really interesting and different. In part, it really is the area of the law where we're defining the limits of permitted behavior. So it is the area, I think, which probably speaks most to what we accept and as a society. So I've always enjoyed it. But maybe more importantly, it's the area of law where you could be in court every day. So I just, it was something that I really enjoyed. And I did mostly criminal law when I was in private practice.
It's so interesting that you enjoyed being in court every day because you moved on to positions that took you right out of the court. I mean, you moved into positions within government that kept you from the court. Was that a deliberate decision, or was it an opportunity that simply came along you couldn't refuse?
I've never planned my career. Every new job was an opportunity that was presented that sounded, too good to say no to. So when I was an adjudicator, though, for the Liquor License Board, that wasn't in a traditional courtroom, but it was in a hearing room. It was just in a different role. But I always loved the courtroom, and I have to say that I've missed it from time to time. I loved being a trial judge, and I miss that from time to time. But every job has been, very interesting and had so many other aspects to it that they just seem to get better and better, the jobs.
I want to talk a little bit about what those jobs were, because some people's legal career is fairly linear, and it stays very clearly within, the parameters of the legal field. Yours, you were always a lawyer, but you talked about the liquor licensing board, and then you moved into quite senior roles, advising government. Is that correct?
That's right. I went as into the public service as secretary for Native Affairs, and did that for a while. We negotiated land claims and did Aboriginal policy development. Then I became the Deputy Attorney General, who's the Deputy Chief Law Officer for the government. We had, 1,000 lawyers who were prosecuting or defending the government or giving legal policy advice. And then I became head of the public service. But in every one of those jobs, I was dealing with the justice system, and my training and perspective as a lawyer was always a very important function of those jobs.
Tell me how those experiences, especially in dealing with government, helped to shape who you are today as a justice of the Supreme Court. I mean, what do those experiences help you bring to the court that other justices may not necessarily have in their own backgrounds?
Well, first, I have an understanding of how government works, and that, I think, is very helpful. I have had the experience of dealing with, broad public policy issues, and so both of those things together give me a broad perspective on government and important legal issues. My job as a public administrator, as I was responsible for, for example, the operation of the courts administration, and so on, I think helped me understand at a very practical level how things work. So I find I think it's a valuable perspective. It's part of what I bring to the court.
Let's talk about your appointment to the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. What was your reaction the day that the call came that you were being appointed? How did you feel? Oh,
I remember picking up the phone, and when I heard it was the Prime Minister's office, I thought, oh my goodness. And I just couldn't believe it. It was thrilling. It was, judges talk about where they were when they got the call. It's just a really thrilling moment for us. So,
where were you when you got the call?
I was in my office. I was in my office at Osgoode Hall when I got the call, and I could barely contain myself. I, of course, couldn't tell anybody.
Could you tell your husband?
Well, of course I told my husband, but I couldn't tell anybody else, and I just had this big smile on my face. I was beaming, and it pretty well stayed on for weeks.
How long did you have to keep it a secret?
It wasn't that long. It was a matter of days, I think, but it wasn't that long.
Big secret to keep,
yes.
though, especially when you just want to celebrate. Yeah. Did you have any idea what you were getting into?
Actually, no. I think I underestimated the personal cost. There's a real sacrifice in kind of picking up and moving to a new city. My kids are still in Toronto. My parents, who are really getting older, are still there. My siblings are our extended families, our friends. So I think my husband and I really underestimated how, what a sacrifice it is to move to another city. The good news is I underestimated how fabulous the work is, just how extraordinary it is. And so I don't regret it for a moment. I just feel incredibly lucky and incredibly privileged to be here.
Your parents, we talked about the fact that they chose to come to Canada for a better life. And they would have wanted a better life for themselves, but they would certainly have wanted to ensure that their children had a better life. What was it like for them to watch you be appointed to the highest court in the land?
Oh, they were just so proud. I mean, I'm incredibly proud of them, but they sat in the audience and they were crying. And, oh dear. Anyway, they're just incredibly proud. I actually spoke a few words in Greek to just tell them how much I love them and to thank them so much for everything.
When people are appointed who represent a certain group or demographic, either the Chief Justice being the first female Chief Justice, you are the first Greek Canadian. It brings with it also an extra set of responsibilities where you have this whole, you have an entire Greek community who would have celebrated at the fact that you had been appointed. Has it meant different responsibilities for you? Have you been asked, do you feel a responsibility to represent them or to appear at events that help to encourage other young people like you to dream bigger and expect more?
Well, it does bring a certain responsibility with it, and I really do try to get to community events as much as I can, and to be able to mentor people, and so it does have that added responsibility. I mean, you're not representing them. I mean, when you come here, you bring your experiences with you, but you're not representing a particular group. But it does make me, I do go out of my way to make sure that I go to as many of the events as I can.
When you arrived here at the Supreme Court as a justice, had you been here before?
Yes, I had.
You had?
Yeah.
So it wasn't a completely overwhelming experience?
No.
Yeah.
No, but it still is. I mean, it's just, The building itself is an amazing building. It has a sense of history and tradition, and it's just so important to this country that you can't help but feel, quite privileged to be here.
It's imposing, though.
It is.
It's imposing, and the corridors on the level where the justices have their offices are stately, and it's lined with portraits of previous justices. When you first walked down that corridor towards your new office, what were you feeling?
Well, there is a sense of history and there's a sense of continuity. Now, there's a lot of laughter that goes on in these corridors, too. But you do have a sense of responsibility. I think probably more than anything else, there is just this acceptance that it's an incredible privilege and you have to do the very, very best you can.
You sit with, at the moment, 7 other colleagues and normally 8 other colleagues. Is there a sense that you're all in it together because you are where the buck stops? I mean, there is no court hire. Do you rely on each other for both professional brainstorming and personal conversations as well? Is there that feeling of being a cohesive group?
There is. I mean, sometimes we joke and say it's like having 8 spouses because it is just, we work so closely together on every case. So it is a very supportive group. It's a good family.
What has been the biggest thing you've learned about, or the most surprising thing you've learned about yourself since becoming a justice? Have you had a situation where you really learned that you could do something you didn't think you could?
I can't think of anything right now that surprised me, other than, as I say, just the sheer workload.
Right.
But I'm used to busy, demanding jobs, and so I can't say that there's anything surprising.
Do you have people who help you with your job?
Absolutely.
What do they do?
Well, it starts with my husband, who is there for me.
Right.
I have, in my chambers, I have my judicial assistant and, of course, my law clerks. Probably the other judges are the ones who I would say help me the most. It is fundamentally a job that, in the end, you have to come to terms with the decision yourself, and it has to be something that you feel completely comfortable with, and it's your own decision. But there's a lot of support on the journey there.
Many of the justices have spouses who are unwavering in their support, and in some cases who have put their own careers on the back burner in order to facilitate the success of the career of their spouse. Why is the support of your spouse so important to you?
Well, he's my, I think of him as my anchor, as that kind of the bedrock. He is, I just know he's there for me, and I know that, it's just nice to know that there's somebody there for you when you need them.
You're very young.
Not nearly as young as you are.
No, you're very, very young. And people often look at the Supreme Court and may be surprised to see that there are younger people on the court. Is that ever something that people say to you? Do people ever say, I can't believe how young you are?
I sometimes get that. I'm lucky to be in a profession where I am considered younger. Many other professions wouldn't be the case, but I do sometimes get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I have another 17 years on this court, and it's kind of nice to know that you have the long view, and so you know, it's a comforting thought too.
Oh my gosh, there must be days though when you're like, oh, 17 more years and I make it.
Well, yeah, I guess.
What do you do? We've talked about your that you relax by cooking, by reading. Are there other things that you do outside of work that allow you to kind of reconnect with normal life, that allow you to be a regular person?
Well, I mean, I've said it. We love
Go
to
for
walk,
walks,
and I just love to walk in the market here, for example. I love to be among people.
Do people recognize you?
Mostly not, thankfully. I like the anonymity of just being, you know, just being one of everyone there. We like film. We like movies.
Yeah.
We like foreign films. We like thrillers, mysteries.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure this helps me connect, but something I do to relax is I love to paint.
Do you?
I do.
How long have you been painting?
Oh, since school. And in high school, I painted all the sets for the drama class.
Did you?
And yeah, so I've painted time, you know, at times more than other,
Right.
but all my life.
What kind of painting do you do?
Mostly oil painting, some landscapes, some portraits. I've done portraits of my kids and my parents.
That's remarkable. Good for you.
Yeah, well-
Have you sold any of them? Did you ever sell them?
Well, actually, there was one occasion where a couple got sold at without my knowing it. But it was my teacher who bought it. This is a long time ago. But no, I've never put anything for sale. I don't do enough. But my walls are covered in my apartment with my own paintings, and my parents have some.
If
My
you
siblings.
could have done one other thing in your life, what do you think it would have been? Or I suppose, what would it be after the 17 years around
Exactly.
the court?
I was going to say my next career. I'm
Yeah,
going to
what's
paint.
your next career? You're going to paint.
I'm
You're
gonna
going to be a
paint.
full-time artist.
I'm going to paint. Yeah.
That's excellent. I really appreciate that you would take the time to be here.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
For me too.